Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even if you didn't think it was fun, leave some money anyway. I keep it very informal, not very salon type. And here to help me out today as our first storyteller and give us that aha moment about kindness is Mark. Mark Berry, storytelling a long time friend of mine, and he is going to hear your heartstrings. He's going to do all of those. I don't know what he's going to do. Yeah. Here goes Mark.
Hi. No matter where I stand. Is this good?
Yeah, right there, good.
Okay, good. Thank you, Angela.
Oh, I should have been like read his resume or something like that. But that gets a little stand right here. That gets a little complicated sometimes because I've known him forever and a day. We used to be two happily single people. He is not anymore. And we met at a storytelling event many, many moons ago and have developed a storytelling relationship and through that in a social relationship. So he's a good storyteller. And I always tell him, slow down, Speedy Gonzalez, slow down. But sometimes it works and it's going to work right now. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Sacramento Guild, for allowing me to be here today. I thought I'd start off with something story that I enjoy. I find it a little humorous. We might get around to some of that other stuff later. When I was a pastor of a church in Roseville, one of my duties that I just so enjoyed was visiting the shut-in people or the folks that didn't get out as often as they might like to. And it turned out that on this particular day, it was Hazel's turn. And Hazel was a little old lady. And I don't mean that derogatory. She was petite. She was elderly and petite, and she was a very sweet LOL. And so when I came to her door, we greeted each other warmly, and she had me sit down while she got the tea, and we're going to have a visit. And her house was like an antique shop. It was the most beautiful things. Everywhere your eye would fall was another beautiful piece of furniture, usually a beautiful wood, beautiful hand carved or something. And the chair that she offered me was next to an old organ. You may have seen those old beautifully carved wooden pump organs with the two little pedals they had before electricity and all that. Well, on those pump organs, they had a sort of a round stand where you'd put the oil lamp back in the day so you could read the music. On this beautiful organ, on this little stand for the oil lamp, was a glass of water. And floating in the glass of water was a condom in its bright, shiny vinyl package floating there. And, of all the times, especially on a pastoral visit, of all the times you could keep your mouth shut and not say something, that would have been a good time. But you know me better than that. So when she came back in with the tea, we were seated comfortably and chit-chatting. I said, "That's curious." And she said, "Curious? That's amazing. I got to tell you about that." Okay. So she proceeds to tell me about that time she was walking to church when she felt good that morning. And she said, when I walked by the parking lot there next to the tavern, I saw this real shiny, bright thing on the ground, and it looked clean, and I looked at it and I took it home. And when later I got my reading glasses out and I read it, and it said, "To protect your health, place on organ and keep moist." And she said, "I don't know how it works, but this whole last winter, I haven't had a cold. I haven't even had sniffles." I didn't say a thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Now you see why I got Mark to get this going, and I can think of my first experience with a condom. I was like 12 years old and found this thing that looked like a balloon in the backyard. And they were filling it up with water and tying it up and throwing it around. And then one of the adults rushed out and said, oh, you shouldn't be playing with that. And I'm like, well, what is it? You know, I mean, I had no idea. Oh, she says, it's a goat's bladder. Okay, but she was the adult. She said it was a goat's bladder. I shouldn't be playing with it. I handed it over. And it's not until years later when I saw that shiny package that I realized when we started learning about boys and other things. So anyway, this next Stella, I have never met her. And I got here early hoping to have a little chat with her via Zoom because she is going to do the Zoom thing. And I have no idea who she is. So I emailed Joyce and I'm like, do you know who this person is? I have, you know, and then Joyce sent back an absolutely glowing report. And I said to myself, this is too good to be true. So then I asked her to send me a little CV and so I could find out at least who she was, which she sent. And then I said, well, maybe you could send me a photo or something, you know, like that. I don't know who you are. And she sent one, she said, oh, just to share. And, you know, she was so gracious. And I'm like, I like this person already. Just a couple of days ago, she sent a little note. I noticed you have me listed by my professional name, but my friends just call me Judith. And I said, well, I'm going to presume to be one of your friends. May I call you Judith? Or I didn't even ask. I just said, I'm going to call you Judith. So here now coming up via Zoom is Judith, my friend I haven't met before, my friends I'm going to meet for the first time. And she is all about kindness. And she's going to tell us about her personal story. And I thought about this and I said, you know, it takes a lot of kindness to be married to somebody for 47 years. So, Judith, here she is. Okay, now you do have to move.
Hi, everybody.
I have to move.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that 46 years with my Indian husband. And before any of you get all wound up out there with political correctness, I'll just tell you whatever I told everybody from the PC police that corrected me over those 40 odd years, which is my husband says Indian and he are one. So we had one of those meet cutes in 1973. He was shaking out his last drunk on his friend's living room floor and I almost stepped on him. And it kind of went downhill from there because he wasn't liking women or white girls or much of anything. But they offered me to take him riding to meetings and things that he had to go to. And because of course he was not allowed to drive. And so I did that. And this meeting tonight of Storytellers is about kindness. And she hit the nail on the head when she said, it was the kindest thing in the world for this man to do, to be mine for 46 years, or I his, or whatever, because he went through ups and downs and sidewayses and just continued to persevere. In those car trips, we told each other about our dysfunctional childhoods. I told him about hiding in the pear tree from my wicked stepfather, about taking my books and hiding in the pear tree and always hating it when it was winter because there weren't any leaves to hide me. And he told me about being the only Indian kid in his high school in Glasgow, Montana. And the look on his face, the poignancy of his remembering what it was like to be the only brown face in a white school stayed with me for 35 years. And I wrote my first book. about a little 15-year-old Indian boy who went to a white high school. And 3-point shot. It won a little award too, by the way. So it's on Amazon if you like to read books. So anyway, I told him about that pear tree, and he said, I went through there on my way to war. I said, I should have just picked you up and taken you with me. And I said, yeah, you were 18, I was 7. You weren't going to get far. He was your idea of an Indian man. He was soft-spoken. He was stoic. He was macho. He was not demonstrative. And oh man, he couldn't buy a present, and made him crazy to have anniversaries and birthdays and Christmas and things. But we went to the horse races, and we were down in the paddock, and we're just friends when the bell rang, and all of a sudden there were 7 million people surrounding, and I still was not able to get comfortable in crowds. And I didn't want to show that I was uneasy in front of this fella. But all of a sudden, this big iron worker's hand clamped itself around the upper part of my arm above my elbow and steered me through that crowd. And I was in love for the last time in my life. But he took him a little longer. He tells the world in his soft-spoken way. It was when I was bending over a counter to look for curtains. He says, this is in the day of the mini skirts. He said, I saw her bending over looking for those curtains, and I was in love for the last time in my life. So of course, for him to get so emotional about this, he said to me, don't you think it's time we got married? And so we did. And we had adventures that I'd love to tell you and can't tell you in 10 minutes, but I do want to remind you that he suffered every time he had to buy a present. Once he came to me with a drugstore sack and handed it to me and said, this is the worst present I ever gave you. And it was. And it was. He found no dichotomy between his cultural beliefs and his Christianity. He was both, and he had no problem with it. And it took me a while to adjust it. And he's standing in the doorway, and he's looking out across the street, and he turns to me and he says, Judith, it's going to be a long, hard winter. No, Dale, don't give me that crap. You don't know it's going to be a long, hard winter. He said, oh, yes, Judith. White man across the street put him up lots of wood. So we did what married people do. He had to retire when he was 50 years old. I was a little not even 2 years after we were married. And he took to house husbanding like a drunk, like a duck to water. And we moved around a lot following my work. I had told him, and he, we talk about kindness. This is about kindness. I hate peanut butter. I always said lips that touch peanut butter will never touch mine. And he loved it. So he had his jar of peanut butter and he hid it on the toppest shelf, and he ate it when I wasn't around. And if he came to bed with it after peanut butter, he always brushed his teeth well, and that's kind. That's really kind. So here we are, we're having this big fight. Well, I'm having the fight. He's just, I do the yelling and he doesn't do anything. And we're having this big fight, and I pause for breath and I look across the console into the kitchen, and there he is with a jar of peanut butter in one hand and a tablespoon in the other hand, just feeding himself peanut butter as fast as he can. And that was my sweetheart. He was so funny. So how's the time? Do I have 3 minutes?
Keep going, Joyce. I'm riveted. Judith, sorry.
Okay. Quickly. So anyway, into our marriage, we started to get older, and I always thought I was going to die young, and here I am, 86, and still dancing. So I made a bucket list, and this man who couldn't buy presents piled me into his pickup, took me up the hills into the foothills of the Cascades out there where we lived. Oh, maybe 30, 40 miles. And with 2 prosthetic hips, he goes down the incline where the water is rushing over these falls, gets himself a bucket of water, comes up, lights up the propane stove. On my bucket list, I had said I wanted to have camp coffee one more time. You know how you make coffee in the coffee can? He took me up there to make me camp coffee so I could scratch that off my bucket list. Is that kind or not?
Yes.
Pretty kind. And we got older, and I was afraid of breaking bones, as was he. So we decided we wouldn't do light bulbs and things until somebody taller came over to do them, and we would do that. But I had to go someplace that it was going to be snowing, and then my snowshoes were in the bottom of my closet, the bottomest of my closet, and the light bulb was out. So we finally decided to get the light bulb. We hauled this old antique wooden chair over, and he went to get up. He couldn't get up on it. It's a little higher than most chairs. So I said, Dale, will you hold the chair and I'll get up. I couldn't get up on it either. So I said, I walked the 2 miles to the kitchen to get the step stool. I come dragging that step stool back, and he's leaning in the door jamb, laughing his full head off. And I said, what's so funny? Now, this guy who didn't talk much said, how many old people did it take to screw in a light bulb? So COVID came. We'd been married 45 years. He had given up his driver's license when he was 90, and now he had fun getting presents. He had one of his young boyfriends take him to the dollar store, and he bought 10 things and put them in a bag, with a card on the top, whether it be birthday or Christmas or whatever. And the last Christmas before he died, he's comes home with his 10 things and sets them there in what passes for a tree. And Christmas morning, I take out, and I used to get great things. I got a little hacksaw, got a little pair of scissors, got a lot of chocolate. I mean, $10 at the dollar store is great. And so the last Christmas before he died, here's my sack, and I get over, I sit down in my chair, he's in his, we have our coffee, and I'm a card reader. I look at the card, I look at the outside of it where it says, as it has for 46 years, Sweet Judith. I open it up and I read it, and there's more writing at the usual on the bottom. And it says, I have loved you since the pear tree. That's my sweetheart. Thanks.
Judith, the person whom I feel honored to call a friend right now, even though we've met on Zoom, that is the most moving story of kindness, of love, and whatever you want to call it. I mean, I wanted to cry, but it would be embarrassing because I'm the MC, No, but that was so heartfelt. And I am so happy that I got you to come here and share some of this with all of us. And yes, he was a ninja, and that's what they called him back in the day. And you could be politically incorrect, and we would be politically incorrect right along with you. Now, Judith, you talk about snow, and we're in Sacramento. Where are you telling from?
Are you asking me, honey? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking, I said you mentioned snow and snowshoes. And these are words not in the vocabulary of people in Sacramento. So where are you telling the story from? Where are you right now?
If you're talking to me, I'm in Crowder, Oklahoma, population 422, right in the middle of Tornado Alley.
Oh my goodness. What do you do for recreation since he's not here anymore?
What do I do for recreation?
Uh-huh.
Well, I play a lot of Texas Hold'em on the computer. I've been writing ever since I retired at age 62, but I've learned that it's more lucrative to edit books that won't sell than to write books that won't sell.
Wow, oh, I like that. Yes.
I'm doing a lot of editing, and it's, no, seriously, it's for helping first-time authors. It's a real vocation or avocation, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, that's a modern woman. Thank you. Anybody has any questions for Judith? And they can call you Judith, right?
You may call me Judith, but
Yeah.
if you're looking for me professionally, it's J.R. Nacken.
Mhm. And that's the JR. How do you spell the Nacken?
Nakken.
Nakken. So check her out. And somebody's got a question for you,
I
Judith.
just want to give her a big hug from here to there. That's it. I love your story.
Did you hear that?
I did not.
Come up.
I just wanted to give you a big hug from here to there. I loved your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I sure hope Ed Lewis is watching, because he's the one who asked me to do this.
I know,
Yeah.
and see, I was hoping to get him to introduce you because he is the one who connected us.
Yes.
And unfortunately, he couldn't be here. He is coming from a lecture someplace, and the timing got all messed up, and he's not here. But we tape this generally, so if we do, we will make sure you get a copy of the taping. Yeah. So thank you. I'll run the
Thank
floor
you,
here.
thank you.
Please. So coming up, we're supposed to have Timothy Thomasick, who is a librarian, has been a librarian in the Sacramento City Library for umpteen years. I'm not good with numbers. He's got some mobility problems. He was supposed to be taking an Uber to get here, and I don't see him. So we have tellers here. The nice thing about storytelling is that so many of us in here are storytellers, and we can tell a story and then drop up a hat. Prepared, unprepared, whatever. So here is Joyce gonna come up and tell us her story. And she's looking all elegant. Oh, I came in here and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yes.
This is the friend. Yes. And Joyce is a longtime member of the Guild. And one of the things that we do is several of us meet a couple times a month, and we, how do you say it? We coach one another in storytelling.
We
So-
laugh a lot.
Yes, and we have a lot of experimental food that one of the members, Vicky, brings along. So we have a fun time. We spend a couple hours, a couple times a month, and we work on crafting our stories. So if anybody's interested in that, just contact me or at the end of this program, and we can hook you up. And generally, after working on the stories for a couple of weeks, they turn out a lot better. So in the spirit of kindness, whether she's being kind or whether she's not, but she's always a kind and a fantastic person. Here is Joyce to give us her take on kindness.
Thank you. And we do have a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I have a story today about a friend of mine who would like to join you. He is a nice spider. In this story, this is a Nancy. I have to give you a little bit of a Nancy would like to be a really nice person. He thinks he's the best person in the world. And I don't know if a Nancy learned anything from this, but I bet you will. And I'm going to let Angela hold a Nancy because he loves to hear stories about himself.
Spider?
He's a very friendly spider.
I grew up with a Nancy. I'm from the West Indies, or the Caribbean, as some people say. So we are all a Nancy. Stories came from West Africa, and there is one for every situation.
Yes.
And there is one is a moral tale, a tale of caution. There's a story for every single thing. So that's okay. I'll hold in my one leg and shake him. Go for it, Joey.
Well, Anansi was enjoying himself in his little hut on the top of a hill. And he was looking down, and there was the pond, a small pond, not very deep, but maybe 5, 8, 10 feet, like that. And he was looking at his friend Turtle, who was sleeping on a rock. And he was smelling his famous stew. He had put it on in the morning in a big black pot over the fire. And this stew was going to last for days because stew is always better the second or third day. Well, he was enjoying that and rocking. And then he saw Turtle. Anansi, is that one of your famous stews? Why, yes, it is. You're the best stew maker in the whole county, maybe the whole world. I am. And would you like to join me? Anansi had no sooner said it when he remembered he wanted that stew. Come on up, he said to Turtle. Now Turtle had to climb that. It was this time of year, and it was a dirty, dusty hill. So he looked and he saw Turtle slowly, and he ran in and he poured and he gobbled and he gobbled and he gobbled, and then he heard a footstep on his back porch, and he went out and he said, "My goodness, Turtle, how you insult me. You would come into my house with those dirty feet and dirty shells. I'm so insulted." Oh, I'm sorry, Anansi, but it's a long trip up, and I'm close to the ground, and the ground's all dirty and dusty, and every time I step, the dust will go down and wash off and then come up by the long path and the front door. All right. And so Turtle started down to the pond. And Anansi went in, and he, as fast as he could, and he was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then pretty soon he hears, he went to the door and he opened the door and he said, "Oh, Turtle, you look wonderful. Come in, sit down." And he went and got the big pot and he put the bowl down and he scraped. And one small tablespoon of stew landed in the bowl. Turtles, "I'm sorry, Anansi, but it took you so long to get here. The stew's all gone." Turtle didn't say anything because he was polite. But he knew what Anansi was up to. He said, think nothing of it, Anansi. And he went down off the back steps and down to the pond. A couple days later, Anansi went to his mailbox and took out an invitation. Dear Anansi, please come to my party this Saturday. There will be food and dancing and singing, and we're going to have a marvelous time. See you at my house. Anansi loved parties. He was the best party goer he knew. And so come Saturday, he put on his jacket, 4 legs in the front, put on his pants, 4 legs in the back, went down the hill by way of the path to keep clean. Got to the edge, angled where Turtle's house was, jumped in and swam with all 8 legs over. So he was right over Turtle's house. Now Turtle was looking through the window, and Nancy took a big breath and he dove down and he grabbed the porch rail when he was down there, and he reached over and he knocked on the door. And Turtle opened the door and he said, "Oh, Anansi, it's good to see you." And Anansi let go of the post and went to shake hands. Right up to the top. This won't do. Anansi swept over to me. I got to think of something. So he sat down and he saw all these pebbles. So he got the pebbles and he stuck them in his jacket, filled up the jacket full. Now it was harder to swim. He dove down. Got to the bottom, he stayed there. He walked up to the porch, knocked on the door. Turtle smiled, stepped out on the porch and said, "Oh, Anansi, I'm so glad to hear. Oh, I forgot my manners. Let me help you with your jacket." Up to the top again. Anansi went over, sat down on the edge, and thought about it. He didn't like what Turtle had done. He went home. And you, I bet, would have learned a lesson. Anansi, he's not paying any attention. And I doubt very seriously that he learned a single thing about being kind to your friends.
And now she can have her spider back.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we learn those good lessons, see? Or we don't learn those lessons. With the phone ringing there, sorry about the interruptions, but it was Tim saying the Uber left him at the wrong place. So I told him to go home. Yeah, because he really has mobility issues. He has a broken back. Yes, and the other message was as I said, this is informal. My door was unlocked and the stove was on. Not my fault, but he got here in time. Okay. Yeah. So we can just, as I said, we're storytellers. So we can just do it the right way. We can do it the wrong way. We can do everything. And because we are so fortunate that we get to use this space. This space is belongs to the Sacramento Poetry Center. And because we're all literary oriented, they've said, "Oh, go ahead, use it," and we're like, yeah, we will. Yeah. So one of the things we try to do is collaborate with the Poetry Center to showcase some of the same things, some of the words bring us together, same as music does. And we try to invite a poet or two to come share their stuff with stuff, I shouldn't say that, share their words with us when we meet. So today we are very honored, not just any poet, she's a member of the board. Yes, and she is going to come and share her, a couple of her poems with us. She's a member of the board. She works at Sac State, and she coordinates writing programs there. So you know she's got good words. Yeah. So and come on up here and let's hear some poetry.
Thanks, Angela, for inviting me today. When I heard about the storytelling event that was going on, I've never been, and so I wanted to experience it for myself. So thank you. The stories I'm going to talk to you about today are going to be in poet form, but I just want to give you some background. I'm originally from the Philippines, so the stories are and the poetry that I'm sharing with you are going to be about my family members. My mom, who was a fierce Filipino lady. If you've ever encountered other Filipinos, they will tell you what you do not want to know, but they will tell you the truth anyway. That was my mom. And I had the pleasure of caregiving her when she fell ill. She had lung cancer and then brain cancer, but man, the fierce lady lasted for 7 extra years. So the poems, a couple of poems are going to be about my family members. So thanks for doing that. Can you just turn that on the side there? Thank you. So my mom was the kind of person that she loved to dance and she loved to play a lot. And my family members told me that when I was a baby, and so little background story, my mom got pregnant with me, but she didn't want to be stuck in the Philippines because there's no divorce in the Philippines. And apparently my biological dad, you know, he was the player that he was. So my mom decided, you know what, I'm just going to have these kids on my own. And she used to like to play a lot, and she was known for playing kickball and dodgeball and baseball while carrying me. And this is a story that was told to me by my kuya, my cousin. It's called Picture This. And this is for my mom. Her name is Eva. Picture this, me, a chubby, bald Buddha baby tucked in your right arm. Your long black hair is kept in a pony. Hair whips in the air as you kick the blue plastic ball with the glittery gold stars past my 10-year-old cousin Kuya, who tries to catch it as you run to first base. It was a warm day on the islands. White, billowy clouds moved slowly with the Pacific breeze. I hear you laugh as you catch your breath. Feel your arm tight around my baby body. I smell the sweet scent of your soft skin, and my little legs flail with the rhythm of your run. My little arms holding onto you, my mom, my tiny fingers clinging tight to your dress shirt. And my round face squished by your hip, and I am giggling with delight. Note all these poems, by the way, and so I'm going to do a shout out to Maria Writers. All these poems were written in Sacramento Poetry Center's Marie Writers groups, which meets Wednesdays at 6 o'clock to 7:30, and it's put together by Bob Stanley. And I invite all of you who are great storytellers, just write them down. Join us at Marie Writers so that you can collect your stories in poem form. Okay. My next poem, by the way, in Marie Writers, each guest gets to share and gets to create a prompt that we all write from. So these are all poems that I've written based on other people's prompts. And it's a very inviting and awesome community to share poems with. So again, I invite you. This next poem is for my sister Christine. She's my younger sister. And when we moved here from the Philippines, my mom had to move first because that's the way the immigration went. We didn't get all of our papers at the same time. So my mom left 7 years earlier than us, and we stayed in the Philippines and waited for our papers to come. So we lived with, my sister and I lived with my aunt, her older sister. Coincidentally, my mom's family, her brothers and sisters, there were originally 12 of them, and now there are 2. So yeah, they're all over. This one is called Communing with Giants for my sister Christine. What do you want me to tell you? I asked the small giant under the warm cover of night. Its thick cinnamon colored bark as large as my palms, its branches end in deep green, its needles used as cushion for long sitting and contemplation. With my eyes closed, I whisper a story about a little brown girl who grew up riding waves near the edges of the earth. She climbs tall trees, befriends mountains, and sings love songs to the moon. She had small hands for large giving, a heart for loving as vast as the sky, and her laughs emit a sound as if fairies sprinkled joy in the air. I tell the small giant, sometimes I wish I were this girl with all her magic and light and belief in the world. Sometimes I think I could be this girl, and I aspire to try and imagine a self who breathes the joy in and the joy out. Sometimes I go to the ocean. Sometimes I am she, sitting under a canopy of stars, exhaling joy while singing her love song to the moon. You have time for one more? Yeah. Okay, one more. And I know that the theme is kindness. And so I hope some of these poems show you like the kind of kindness that my family and my mom especially grew in us. She conditioned that in us. And an example of that is even as my mom was sick, she never once complained. She would always say, no, there's no pain, no pain. Anyway, and she taught me how to be a good caregiver, honestly. So this one is called, in my last poem, is called A Prayer on My Death Day. One of the things that my mom taught me was how to live well so that we can end this earth well, right? Anyway, when I die, I hope my daughter, her children, my sister, brother, and friends, loved ones all, are present and well, helping me and each other to let go in our last hours, to say our final goodbyes. I hope I am well when I die, that I was laughing and loving a lot just the day before, and I hope that we were happy. I hope I have my mind and my memories, and that I am asleep, smiling and dreaming of a life well lived. Thank you for your attention today. Thank you for everything. And I just want to share, keep writing, keep telling those stories, keep creating, and remember, you are the best art you'll ever make. Thanks.
Oh, well, I see Kim made it. Yes, oh my God. Why don't you sit down for a while, catch your breath? And at this point, maybe we just take a few minutes. And who wants to go to the bathroom? Several of us are of a certain age and we may need it. Go to the bathroom, there's refreshment, very thoughtfully supplied by our caterer phenomenal, Vicky. So help yourself just a few minutes, time to the bathroom, time for some refreshment, and we'll get started again. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna take a short break, about 3.5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So we got Tim. And Tim, before we get started with you, so you can relax just a little bit. A lot of times I tell people about we're having a storytelling event, and they're like, "Is it an open mic?" And I'm like, "No, we know better." But one way to get people involved, and I've tried this before, it's like, people come to communicate, everybody's got something to say. So if you can say it in 99 seconds or less. Now here's your big chance. Okay, Mark, you gonna try this? Okay.
Everybody else is gonna fill the.
Okay, Ricky, you got 99 seconds or less. I got a timer.
But it has to be this topic.
No, it doesn't, anything, I don't care.
I have to prepare for it, my prayer.
The nice thing about storytellers is that we can tell a lie and it's trouble. Oh, whatever it is, come do it.
But I thought it was about a slam form, and this is about the only form I ever wrote that's trying to slam it.
Well, and it was supposed to be, I had the bell and the clock and, the little card at 25 seconds, but failing all of that, and I had prizes, and somebody got to win, but you know what? No, we don't care. Hey, you're on 99. Wait. Let me set the timer.
No, not wrong.
Mhm. Okay, come on. 99 seconds or less.
Are we
Go.
going?
Yeah, go.
Oh, to Mr. T. Who are you, little man, born with a platinum spoon in your hand? You can choose what you want. Have you given any thought to what power has brought? To how you used your power given to block what people sought? Shame on you, save your skin as cowards do. This fight has to begin. The people think you sin. You lied through our Constitution under the bus. You even believe you are king. Anything you do is tidy white clean. You're a mean one, Mr. T. You're a criminal, Mr. T. You probably won't go to heaven, Mr. T. You will go to 11, worse that is. No quid pro quo.
And she was totally within time. Wow. So guess what? She gets a prize next month. Okay, now, yeah, come on, Mark. Yeah,
I thought of
Okay.
one.
okay,
It's-
you yelling, who's saying, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
This is a story and a poem and a lesson for all of us storytellers. You ready? Tim just reminded me of it because I offered him refreshments and he said, "No, I'm good with this water until after I speak." Here it is. I never eat before I speak, of that I am quite certain. For I never want to burp into the mic nor fart back toward the curtain.
and he was way less than 99 seconds. Oh, yeah. Anybody else want to take a challenge? Scary, come on up, 99 seconds.
In the 90 seconds, my brain is still.
You're a storyteller, get up here. Woo. And if it goes beyond 99 seconds, we just pull you off the stage.
Well, I'll do a quick story. I just came back from Tahoe. And you have to go with the money that you think you're going to lose. Because usually you lose. But what was so nice is we were on our last day, my cousins and I, we were playing and they loved the slots and I loved video poker. And they had just come in the door to get me, and I pushed the button, and guess what? I got my first royal flush. What the exciting thing was, I didn't know. I hadn't really looked at the screen. I was going for a flush. And if I hadn't looked up at the screen and saw this thing, blink, 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 I don't know if I actually would have realized I had won $1,000. That's my.
How much did you win?
$1,000, and that's what I brought home.
Whoa. I'll be your friend.
Yeah, I took my cousins out for dinner.
Oh, wow. See, so everybody has a story to tell, and you can tell it. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had a fantastic ending. So this is the essence of storytelling. You have stories to tell her? No, you can't? Okay. No, Jana, you have a story to tell? Yeah. 30 seconds. 99 seconds. Okay, sure. I'll wing it. Okay.
Since we're going with kindness, I'll tell about the kindest man I ever knew. He was my friend, my mentor, my teacher. I studied for 10 years with him in Houston, Texas, and he was originally from Guinea, and I played West African drums. And so when I moved to the Houston area, I looked up drummers on Meetup, and one of his students had created this profile for him, and it was drummers every Saturday come to this, dance center, and we drummed and drummed. He became my dearest friend. He was an octogenarian, just lost him the summer before the pandemic. But he brought along with him this great community, and I became friends with these incredible people from all over the world. We had a stoic man from one of the small towns in England, and he was just always angry, but he would drum very loud, and when we would do the dooms, he would hit him with a stick extra hard, and Abu Bakr, our teacher, would say, Nicholas, softer, softer. You never had to tell anybody to hit the drums softer, but that was Nicholas. We had a young man from Cameroon with his family, and he would bring his babies, and they would run around while we were drumming and practicing rhythms and learning new songs. We had a woman from South Africa. We had a couple of ladies from France that would visit. And this was all in Houston, Texas, which is a melting pot. But Abu Bakr was the kindest person I ever met. He would tell these stories and teach us rhythms and what they meant. And we would gather at my house sometimes for drumming groups. And he was Muslim, so,
Keep going. Keep going.
So I looked up a recipe of something very special to make him the first time he came to my house, and I went to a proper market to get halal meat and all the different things, and prepared it with spoons that had never touched any impure meats or anything, and brought him to the house. And I said, Abu Bakr, I made you this West African chicken soup. And we all served it. And then we asked him if he would like a drink. And it was during Ramadan, I guess. And he said, oh, yeah, why not? And he asked my wife, he said, Cindy, do you know how to make a Long Island iced tea? And here he was asking for a Long Island iced tea. And I had gone to all these lengths to make this very carefully crafted, pure, prepared with the proper utensils, chicken soup. And so my wife made him a Long Island iced tea, and he drank it in about 2 gulps. And then Nicholas walked through with a glass of red wine, and Abu Bakr says, Nicholas, what is that? And he goes, oh, it's a Merlot. And says, I think I'll have one of those too. Nicholas just looked out of the group and went, because he had to drive him home. Kind man, Abu Bakr, but he could hold his liquor.
About way over 99 seconds. Yeah. She would have been, man. chased off the stage. Even though the story was very, very interesting, working it 99 seconds next time you're on. 99 seconds. I gotta have a limit somewhere. Gotta have some control, you know? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see you looking at your watch. Yeah, I know you're looking at the time. Way over 99 seconds. Okay, so hey, Tim, you wanna come on up here?
I'm going to start with a kindness 99-second story.
Oh, okay.
That's what got me here. I'm not taking this out of the 10 minutes you gave. Mark, could I ask you to put some weight on that? If, the brakes are sliding again.
Yeah, did you say you needed a stool, Tim?
Yes.
Yes.
Use a stool. Thank you. Yeah, I use it to walk. Thank you. Well, I'm sure of the story. Thank you.
A lovely host.
Where do you want the stool?
That's good. I think this will work.
Mm.
And I'm going to say hello to Joyce because I called Joyce Dale. So now that's even. Well, you can let me move in here and put up with me. Sure. And that should do it. And this is that kind of out of 10 minutes, Angela.
Oh. You see, some people are so fixated on this time thing. When I actually give them time,
I can
like
turn this to you.
99 seconds.
Oh,
I can turn this to you.
but no, you know what? Here we go. This is, thank you, Mark.
And you've got a little box of tricks too.
I don't know if you've ever seen me do this before. I can't remember. And did I hear I have? No, I didn't hear. I'm imagining. Well, I do that a lot. In 99 seconds. I'm here because of kindness. The library's just loosened up to let us go during work time. My boss said, go and we'll pay for the Uber. So, but Uber dropped me off. We got talking about his Tesla. It dropped me off in front of 1715 15th Street, and I didn't even notice. So then the lady, waitress.
Is that your 99
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I'm counting.
Oh, I should have signaled her. Okay, what starts now? Then, in front of a place called Beast and Bounty, the waitress comes out and says to me, "You look upset," because I yelled, "Why, stop, come back, no, don't go." And so she heard my pathetic story, and that's a 16-minute walk if you're whole and hearty. So she called Uber again and then got me into it, and here I am. So I'm doing a commercial, first of all, for Beast and Bounty.
Yeah.
And her name is Mia. So there's lots of kindness out there. I think I kept in that time limit.
Yeah, he's living.
And I have to pay a tribute right here. Gail Ryle, somewhere 40 years ago, taught me the basics of storytelling. I was a raw 20-something library worker. I was at her library and she let me tell my first story during her story time. And I've been telling ever since. So thank you very much. And here we go. And I do a lot of stories with props because kids tune into that. And being in the public library system, I've worked mostly telling stories to kids. And this is one that is a Japanese folktale. And it starts out like this. There were once two men who lived next door to each other. Two men who could not have been more different. The first man, he was good and kind. He'd call Uber for anybody stuck in front of his restaurant. The other man, Well, he was greedy, stingy, even mean. Mean enough that in August, when the peaches were ripe, he'd go out, get a big bamboo stick, knock them off the tree, from the tree in front of his neighbor's house, let them rot on the ground and the animals get them. And then he'd go over to his house the next day and pick them off his tree, walk over to the fence and say, peaches good this year. Oh yeah. Too bad you don't have any. Well, one day the good man told his wife, I'm going to go for a walk. Would you like to come with me? And she said, well, dear, not today, but before you go, let me give you a snack. So she rolled up for him 1 and 2 little rice balls. And he put them in his pocket and he took them with him. And he walked down a path enjoying the fresh air of the sunshine until he came to a nice spot and thought, that looks like a good place to sit down and have that little snack. But as he pulled out the rice ball, he fumbled it and it rolled kuru, kuru, kuru out of his hand, kuru, 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 down a little path, and then it disappeared from sight. And he thought, oh, no matter, I have the other rice ball. But before he could bite into it, he heard something else. He heard singing, a little voice going, rice ball, roly-poly rice ball. He thought, what could be making that song? And so he looked around, he saw a little hole in the ground, and he went closer and he heard it again. Rice ball, roly-poly rice ball. And then he took out the other rice ball and he let it drop. And it rolled kuru, 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 kuru down the path and went down the small hole. And he bent down to look into them. And as he did, suddenly out popped a little mouse who looked at him and said, oh, thank you for those rice balls that you gave me. They were delicious. And the man was surprised to find himself talking to a mouse, but he remembered his manners. And he said, well, you're very welcome, little friend. Well, I want to thank you for your kindness, said the mouse. Oh, that's not necessary, said the man. Oh, I insist. I insist. Now stay right there. Stay right there. You stay. And he went down and then came up. The mouse was carrying with him a box. And the mouse said, now, sir, will you choose this box? Or, he went back down. He said, will you choose this smaller box? And the man did not wish to appear greedy. So he said, little friend, that small box will do very well. And the mouse said, oh, good choice, good choice. And he put it in his hand. And the man thanked him and they shook on it. And the mouse waved goodbye as he turned and walked back up the path to go home. And when he got home, he went into the house and he called out to his wife. And they sat down together and they opened up the little box. And they couldn't believe what they found. Gold and silver coins, diamonds, pearls. Suddenly, instead of being very poor, humble people, they were wealthy and they could live the rest of their days in comfort, all thanks to the kindness of the mouse. And it doesn't take long for good news to travel. And it reached the ears of the neighbor, who came running over one day, walked into the house without knocking and said, tell me, how did you come to your good fortune? The man told him about the rice balls, the path, dropping the rice ball, and the singing. And the man said, that's what I needed to know. And he jumped up without a word of thanks. He went home and he told his wife, now I go to get us our fortune. And he did something he didn't usually do. He got a broom and he started sweeping the floor. and he swept up all the stale, dirty rice from the floor. And he took one little rice ball with him, and he went down the path thinking about all the things that would be his, that Tesla, eating out all the time. And they got to the spot the man had described, the kindly man had described, took out the rice ball. He dropped it, watched it go, kuru, 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 and until it disappeared down a small hole. He stood by the hole, waiting, and he heard singing, rice ball, bleh, bleh. Stale, dirty rice ball. The man thought, good enough for a mouse. And when the mouse popped up, upside down, he grabbed it and he shook it. The mouse went, boop. And the man said, I brought you a rice ball, where's my reward? And the mouse said, if you be kind enough to release me, sir, I'll get you what you deserve. Man let him go and said, no tricks. Oh, no tricks, said the mouse. And he went down into the hole. And when he came up, he was carrying a box. And he said to the man, now, choose carefully. Will you choose this large box? And the man said, well, of course. And he grabbed it, turned, ran up the path he had come down. And the mouse was not at all sorry to see the back of him. And he took it, the box, back to his home, called out to his wife. They went inside, they locked the door, thinking about everything that would be theirs. They sat down and they opened the box. And they couldn't believe what they found, because out came spiders, scorpions, snakes, wasps, things that bit and stung. And they had a time getting those bolts undone. And when they did, they ran down that path as fast as they could out of that house. And for all I know, they're running still to this day. And the kindly man, well, he and his wife lived long, happy, carefree days, all thanks to the kindness of the little mouse. You can believe that when the man would go for a walk, he would take with him at least one roly poly rice ball for his little friend. And that is the end.
Oh,
Thank you.
that was very cute. I wish your daughter were here to hear that.
Oh,
Okay,
there's.
I'll get it in a second.
Okay, thank you. You can still find it in a book. This one came out in 1969. And it's not even the same story. Kids love the fact that there are many mice. And why don't I have many mice? Because I only have two hands.
Did you write the book?
I would have been in middle school. Book is by somebody, Junichi Yoda. Illustrations by Saburo Watanabe. But thank you, I'm flattered.
Yeah, well, you look so.
I just said to my wife last night, there should be a new version of that, and I think I better type it up.
Yeah.
And she said, good, we might want supplementary retirement income.
Yeah. Well, great, thank you, Tim, we were so glad you made it.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
yes. I told him to go on home and relax, so Tim made it.
Put it in the box.
You know?
Yeah, they put that in the Oh, yes, another little commercial here. That's in a summer reading bag. Adults, all you have to do is read 5 books in the summertime, and you too can get a nice canvas summer reading bag that says Sacramento Public Library. It used to be 25, but for a lot of kids, 5 is accomplishment. So we made it the same for adults. Simplifies everything. And we want it, we want the advertisement. This part I need, but I don't want to take your microphone. Certainly. I'm the branch supervisor at the Del Paso Heights Library, have been for 13 years. And I absolutely love it and keep finding ways to delay retirement.
Well, while we get Tim situated there, I'll tell you a little bit about the next teller, Michelle. That's your name, right? Oh, okay. I keep telling you, Brian's doing it to me on the wine helping. I met Michelle again somewhere in a past life. And we actually shared the same stage at Celebration Arts. And I was pretty taken with the story that she told. And she said it was the first time. I'm like, you're making me look bad. So Michelle, come on up here and not a whole long resume, but I don't do that. Yeah.
Oh, Angela, you're too kind. Thank you. And she is the master storyteller, isn't she? Yeah. So the theme for today is kindness. And I think that the people in my story all have kind intentions, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. And the people in the story are me and my mom mostly. So there you go. So when I was a little girl, my mom had a long list of rules that I had to follow. And some of the rules were really easy to understand, and some of the rules were really harder to understand. So some of the easier rules were like, for instance, I had to be home when the street lights came on. And also I could not go in my mom's bedroom without her permission. And I was a latchkey kid. And so when I came home from school, I had to lock the door and stay inside until mom got off work. So those were pretty straightforward rules. Some rules were a little trickier. So 2 of the trickiest rules that I remember were, one, my mom liked Mr. Goodbars, and she kept a stash of Mr. Goodbars in her bedroom. And she always told me, do not eat my Mr. Goodbars. So that was a tricky rule. And that rule didn't make sense to me because I wasn't allowed in her bedroom in the first place. And I did not like Mr. Goodbars. I liked chocolate and I liked nuts, but I didn't like them all mixed up together. And I kind of thought of Mr. Goodbars the same way I thought about okra and onions. It just did not appeal to me. By the way, I love okra and onions now, but back then I did not. So another rule that was a little tricky for me was she had a rule about lying, cheating, and stealing. And when I was a little girl, she would say this to me like several times a week. She would say, a liar will cheat, a cheater will steal, and I will not have a thief in my house. And I did not understand that rule. I did not understand why lying, cheating, and stealing were a package deal. Because it seemed to me that you could be a liar and not a thief, or you could be a thief and not a liar. And then also I knew that there were big lies that were evil and hurt people. And that there were little lies that sometimes we told when we wanted to not hurt someone's feelings. So when my mom cooked the okra and the onions for dinner and she said, does this taste good? I would say yes, because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, right? So one day I'm watching TV and my mom comes in the living room and she is not happy. She's actually a little mad. And she said, did you take the last Mr. Goodbar that I had in my room? Now, I was tempted to remind her that, first of all, I'm not allowed to go in the room and I don't like Mr. Goodbars. But I did not think that would go over well with her in the mental state that she was in. So I just shook my head no. And mom said, well, who took it then? We're the only two people who live here. I said, I don't know. So mom looked at me and she said, let me tell you something. A liar will cheat, a cheater will steal, and I will not have a thief in my house, young lady. So mom went back to her room. I went outside to play. Just before the street lights came on, I came back home. And mom said, we're going to go to Bob's tonight for dinner. So Bob's was Bob's Buffet, and it was a restaurant downtown. And my mother loved Bob's. She liked the salad bar, and she liked the fried chicken, and she liked the broccoli soup. And I liked the macaroni and cheese and the ice cream sundae bar. I mean, the ice cream sundae bar was just magical because I got to make my very own custom super duper ice cream sundae, you know, with soft serve and chocolate chips and sprinkles and caramel sauce and whipped cream. So I was really excited. So we get to Bob's Buffet, and right away I noticed that the regular cashier is not there. The regular cashier, her name was Crystal, and Crystal was awesome. You know, she had blue hair, and she had really fancy nails, and she liked to joke and talk, and we knew her really well, and sometimes she'd give me free gum. But this night there was another cashier, a new cashier that we didn't know. So we walk up to the counter and the cashier says, welcome to Bob's. How many for dinner tonight? And my mom says, 2. And the cashier says, okie dokie, that'll be $28.99. And my mom said, hold on a minute, that's too much. And that new cashier said, no, that's right, there's 2 of you. It's $13.99 a piece. That's $28.99. And mom said, well, my daughter is 7. It's only $4.99 for her. So the new cashier gave me, you know, a real hard look up and down. And she told my mom, she said, she's not 7. And my mom said, oh, yes, she is. And the new cashier said, look, lady, I don't want to offend you or anything, but I raised 3 sons. I got 5 grandkids. I know a lot about kids. And that little girl is not 7 years old. She's at least 9, maybe 10. And mom said she's 7. So the cashier leaned over the counter and she looked at me and she put her face real close to mine. And I could see the mascara on her eyelashes, and I could see the freckles on her forehead, and I could see a little pimple on her chin. I mean, she was right up there. And she said to me, she said, little girl, I want you to tell me the truth. Are you 7? How old are you? And as she was talking, mom's standing behind me and she pinched my arm. So I looked at the cashier, and I looked at mom. Then I looked at the cashier again and I said, I'm 7. So the cashier opened her mouth, but no words came out. Then she just pressed her lips together. She punched some new buttons on the cash register and she said, okie dokie, that'll be $20.98. So we paid for our dinner. We went through the buffet line, and then mom found us a booth to sit at. So I'm looking down at the table and I'm looking down at that big yummy plate of macaroni and cheese and the ice cream sundae that I made, and I want to eat it, but I can't because I'm thinking about the lie I told. And I'm wondering, now that I lied, will I also start cheating and stealing? And I'm getting all freaked out. So I said to mom, am I going to go to jail? And mom said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I just lied to the cashier. I told her that I'm 7 and I'm really 10. And mom said, don't worry about it. Just eat your food. So I picked up my spoon and I put it in the ice cream sundae. And that ice cream sundae was sweet and it was cool and it was gooey and it was yummy. and it felt so good in my tummy. And I started feeling better. So I ate some more and I felt better and better and better. But while I was eating, I kept my eye on the cashier in the front of the store because I had to be ready to run for the door just in case she called the police.
Yeah, haven't we all been there before? Haven't we? No, it's, she's on, telling me you're 11. Great story, great way to, at least think positively or not positively about childhood memory. Thank you, Michelle. See, I told you, we share the stage. Yeah, so to round up our program tonight, we're gonna have Mark back one time. I mean, he's a man, you know, I mean.
I switched stories at the last minute because I knew I was gonna be here. I put it on the calendar, made sure I had time to drive here from Auburn. And when Angela said, you know, you're gonna open and close the show, well, I cannot say no to this woman. I've never have been able to. I changed my story. This is not my story. This is a story of a friend of mine named Peter, but I tell it with permission. I don't have time to tell you the background. Peter, this story. I was instrumental in this story, and he said, when he told me the story, he said, I've got dozens of them. And I said, you need to write a book. We want to read these stories. And 2.5, 3 years later, after the gestation period, the book came out. Anyway, his name is Peter Rolita. I tell this with honor and with permission. And the name of his book is I'm Here for the Bath. It's available out there. And so I have two wonderful storyteller friends. I have Papa Lawfer here. Tell me the title again, Papa.
Papa Lawfer, Stories, Positive Reflections on Life in America.
Yeah, all those words. That's the name. That's the name of his book of stories, which is also wonderful. So I have two such friends. My friend Peter, he works for a HMO and he goes out to bedridden people, and he's not the nurse or the physical therapist. He does the bath. And so I'm here for the bath. That's what he would always say. And he worked in all different areas naturally, not so familiar. On this particular day, he was in Sacramento and he was in an area he wasn't that familiar with. And it was lunchtime and he thought, well, I don't know the area. There's a Burger King. I'll have a burger for lunch. And as he was parking his car and getting ready to walk in, he noticed 3 people that were standing right outside the door. And it looked like they had on all their clothes at the same time. And these 3 people were very quiet, didn't bother anybody, didn't speak to anybody. But he noticed as people came out and put their bag in the trash container, they would wait until the person left and then they'd go get the bag and they'd look in there and see if there was maybe a French fry or something that they could share. So he's observing this behavior and he's thinking, I got my debit card anyway. I feel a good mood today. Why don't I treat these people to lunch? You know, that'd just be fun. So as he's going up, he says to these 2 men and a woman, he said, would you like to join me for lunch? And they're like, where's the policeman? Right behind you. And he said, no, come on in. I've got my card anyway. So he finally convinced them. And so they come in and there was a couple of lines naturally. And there was a little Hispanic Latino lady who was checking this particular line. So he encouraged the 3 people to stand in front of him in line and he held up his card in motion to the lady. This is on me, it's okay. And so the lady kind of got into the spirit of it. And when the first gentleman came up and gave his order, didn't order everything on the menu, it was a conservative order, all kind people. The lady said, would you like that for here to go? And the man said, you mean I could eat inside? And the lady smiled and said, sir, would you like to join us and have this here in our dining room? I don't know if I can get through this. Anyway, by now, all the other people in all the other lines are getting the idea of what's going on. And they're starting to observe what's going on. And my friend Peter noticed another person looked quite a bit like the first 3 people outside the glass door, hovering like the other ones were. And he said to the one in front of him, he said, is that Is that a person you know? Oh, yeah, that's our friend Roy. He had to go somewhere and now he's back. And go get your friend Roy. Put him in line. So now everybody knows what's going on. And so they go up and they order. Now, the interesting thing that was so unexpected was that everybody's getting in the spirit of things. And so as people place their order and pay their money and get their change and whatnot, and people are walking away from this line, people are slipping some currency into Peter's hand. You know, they don't say anything. They just slip in something as getting in on it. And so Peter's got this, you know, pretty good pile here, you know, pretty good handful by the time he gets up to the cash register. And he gets up there and now he's, you know, it's this little pile of money. And so he and the beautiful little Latina lady, you know, they're folding it out and counting it out and everything. And there was the bill. There was so much money. There was so much money on the counter. And there was an extra $20 bill. And Peter said, well, that's yours. And the little lady, you know, she was taken aback. She was very, you know, unexpected. And she said, I have to tell you what this means to me. Our daughter, her class is going on a field trip tomorrow. And the whole class is going. But each student needs to bring $20 to take care of the insurance and the bus, you know, all that stuff. And we had to tell our daughter that she couldn't go because we didn't have it. So now I get to go home and tell my daughter that she can go on a field trip with her class and with her friends and talk about a story of kindness. And one of the things that I take away from that story, having told it a couple of times, is that I'm not the only one telling the story. That cashier, her daughter has this story to tell in their own version. The other people that stood in line. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Mark. And when I talked to Mark about this, he said he was going to give the aha at the beginning and the ah at the end. And the ah is very well received, well sent. It's from the heart, and it's a beautiful story that I've heard before. And every time it brings to mind what is kindness, what is compassion, what it's all about. Love for our fellow man. It's just being kind. It's like that, do unto others. So with this, we are going to end the program, but wait a minute, wait. One more thing. As I said, the Sacramento Storytellers Guild, we are all here in one heart, in one mind, to tell stories, to spread it, whether it's joy, whether it's sorrow, whether it's to educate like Nancy, whether it's to bring out a moral story. We're all here to tell our stories and do it in an artistic way and the best way we possibly can. If you would like to make a contribution, there's a basket there. We take MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and any loose change you may have. If all of that fails, I got Venmo and PayPal. Thank you. We got it all covered. Yeah, we got it all covered. You don't have to rush right off. You can take a couple of minutes and drink up the rest of the wine, so we don't have to take it home and eat the food. But I think if you would like to join, it's only what?
$15 a year.
$14.99 for you if you do it today. And just pick up an application form, or you could go to Sacramento Storytellers Guild online.com online and sign up there. So thank you all for coming. It was a wonderful. Thank you for our president and technical person. And Karen has something to say. No, I didn't say third month.
Yeah, August 15th, the third weekend every month, we're here, telling stories, listening to wonderful poetry. The theme for next month is autumn reflections.
What?
Autumn reflections. So however if you want to reflect on Halloween, go ahead. But if you want to reflect on the beautiful fall colors, that's great too. Anything you want. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much. I'm going to get our, Zoom audience and to Judith, my new friend.
Yeah.
Judith, my new friend who told that. Wonderful Story, yes, I know, I'm glad Ed was able to make it, yeah. No, I'm facing the wrong way, so it's like, thank you for the old members who came out. Thank you for the new people who joined us, for Tim and his, adventure. Yeah, and thank you all. Good evening. everyone.